Are you looking to get back into the medical coding field? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you my best tips and tricks to make a successful comeback. Hey everyone, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator, and on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. And you are probably wondering what is the best way to get back into medical coding when you've not been into it for a while. You know, sometimes you finish your training and you wind up having a baby, or a parent gets sick, or you get sick. Maybe you get a different type of job offer, or just somehow life gets in the way. Don't worry about it because life happens, and I'm going to share with you my best secrets on how you can get back on track to a career in medical billing and coding. Now, first thing I want to talk about is your goal should be to become certified in medical coding. So if you do not currently have an active certification anymore with AAPC or AHIMA, you'll want to get certified. If you want to go with inpatient coding, you should probably go with AHIMA. Otherwise, I would go with the AAPC. So for example, if you went through medical billing and coding training and you did not learn ICD-10 PCS, the procedural coding system, you did not have an ICD-10 PCS book, you never opened it, you never learned PCS coding, AHIMA's probably not for you. You'll want to get certified with the AAPC. Likely you were trained to do professional fee services, so coding in ICD-10 or possibly ICD-9, CPT, and HCPCS, that's professional fee coding. So go and aim for getting your CPC certification with the AAPC. Now, I mentioned ICD-10, ICD-9, so one of my first questions, of course, when people want to get back into medical billing and coding is, how long has it been? Because if it's been more than a handful of years, you may have been trained on a different coding system, ICD-9, and we have been using ICD-10 for quite a while now, which means your whole diagnosis training is kind of out the window and you have to learn all of your diagnosis training all over again. I do have some general training on ICD-10-CM on this channel, so there's a breakdown of all of the different guidelines. I do some general, some case studies, so you can find information on here. I also do have a general ICD-10-CM course that you can purchase on my website at contempocoding.com. Or maybe you need to even go back a little bit further and brush up on your med term. The great thing about MedTerm and anatomy is even if you trained 10, 20 years ago, there's likely been very little changes. It's not like we've changed medical terminology or discovered new organs in the human body. But if you haven't used it in a while, you probably forgot a good chunk of it. Now, the good thing is I have a whole video where I list all of my best resources for how to learn medical terminology, and it's geared towards coders. So you can check out this video right here, and it will tell you all of the best free and cheap resources that I can point you to. Now, while, for example, the CPC exam only has a couple of questions that are just specific to MedTerm and anatomy, there's going to be a lot of questions where you need to understand it because you are not permitted to have a medical dictionary for the exam. So if you're reading something and you don't understand the term, it can slow you down, it can really trip you up. So you want to have that good baseline understanding of MedTerm and anatomy. Now, if you feel like you haven't had adequate training at all, maybe the program that you went through some time ago was just like really fly by night, or they didn't prepare you really well, and you're like, you know what, I feel like I need to do this all over again. What you really should do is sign up for my free medical coding masterclass at medicalcodingmasterclass.com because it gives you all of the information, because I want to make sure that you are guided correctly, that you know everything you need to know on how to get into medical billing and coding the right way without going into student loan debt. Because honestly, there's no reason that you need to sign up for a 2-year or 4-year degree to do this. So the masterclass just like really outlines everything on how to get into this career. It doesn't teach you medical billing and coding, but it tells you about how to get into the career. And it tells you more about the training program that I recommend. Like, I vetted this. It is the premier program that you want to get into. It's preppy. So if you're looking for more of a start from scratch approach, that's probably your best bet, is to sign up for that free masterclass. However, if you're feeling like I maintained a good amount of knowledge, I feel fairly confident, I probably need more though than just a little bit of practice. You need something that's kind of in between, like that full course and just like a refresher. I would recommend go to cco.us. They have these programs for all of the medical coding and billing certifications that are called blitzes. And it's that perfect kind of balance in between, I don't need a full training program, but I need a little bit more than a refresher. I've even taken some of their Blitz programs in the past where it's like, oh, I feel pretty confident that I can pass this certification, but I want something more than just a little refresher or review. And they're in the format that I personally like, where they give you more of a longer form video, almost like a lecture, versus click here, click here, click here, and every like minute and a half you're clicking on something. You know, I just don't have that kind of attention span. A cheaper way to kind of assess your readiness, though, would be to purchase a practice exam for one of those certifications and then see how well you do on it. I always say that if you get at least an 80%, that's a really good indication that you're going to pass the actual certification exams. The ones that the AAPC puts out are very similar to the type of things that you will see on the actual certification exam. Study guides are also awesome. You can go on the AHIMA or AAPC websites and they do have study guides available. So if you want to go for your CPC, go on the AAPC website, purchase the study guide. Sometimes they'll bundle them. You can get like a study guide along with a practice exam. So look out for some of those deals. And sometimes things like study guides will include some practice materials as well. So if you're reading through and going, oh yeah, I definitely remember this, and oh yeah, I did okay on the practice questions, then maybe that's a good indication that you're pretty ready for certification. But if you start going through those materials and you start feeling really rusty or not as confident, then maybe that's when you evaluate and go back and say you could try doing the step-by-step medical coding books. That might be a good resource. It's one that I recommend in my self-study video where I say that they're just a really good resource for training in medical coding. So maybe you just need to go back and get that book to get a better refreshment of how to do medical billing and coding. But honestly, and I've talked about this before in other videos where I discuss curriculum changes and things, you know, the concept of coding itself, how you select an ICD-10 code, how you select a CPT code, those concepts of how to code don't change. The guidelines might change a little bit, the codes themselves change, but the kind of how to work through it really doesn't change from year to year. But something I really think you should consider if you're getting back into this career is to start networking and getting more involved with things like local chapters. If you're sitting there and you're listening to a presenter, that might jog your memory and you might start thinking to yourself, oh yeah, I definitely remember what that's like, or oh yeah, you know, I remember when I had to learn this concept and now I'm starting to remember these terms. I'm realizing I didn't forget as much as I thought I did. Or if you still have or reactivate your memberships with AHIMA or with the AAPC, you can go back and read the Journal of AHIMA or read Healthcare Business Monthly. See how much that still seems familiar to you. Or heck, you can just go through all of the videos on my channel. I have an entire playlist, and I'll link it below and at the end of this video as well, where it's all like CPC prep, like practice cases and things to remember about those particular sections of the curriculum. So you definitely want to make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get alerts when I'm posting all of these latest and greatest videos. And of course, make sure you update your resume. You can use websites like projectresume.net, which makes resumes just for medical coders, or you can just do it yourself or have a friend look over it for you, go through a service. But I do recommend projectresume.net. They've done some pretty great coding-centric resumes in the past. Now, if you're concerned about any gaps, of course, in your resume, you're going to start wanting to think about how you're going to explain that when you start getting interviews for positions. Thankfully, nowadays, most people don't turn away candidates because they have a gap in their resume, but they might question you about it when you go in for an interview. So you just want to be prepared to have the professional response of what you want to say to that. And most important, just keep practicing. If you have old textbooks, if you have old study guides, go through them and see if there's cases or questions that you can go through or read through just to get yourself more familiar. Medical coding is definitely a skill where practice makes perfect. Also, again, remember, if you need full training, check out medicalcodingmasterclass.com. And if you just want some refreshers for the CPC exam, whole playlist right here for you, free of charge. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.